Secret Santa is okay, but it's not a perfect film. This is also known as Dear Santa. It was released in 1998. It's directed by Fred Olen Ray and written by Hamilton Underwood. And this is a story about a man who is too focused on his business, his career, than he is on his family and spending time with those that he loves. So one day, one of Santa's elves approaches him and tells him that he has to become this secret Santa and he has to take on the identity of Santa and learn the error of his ways. The first bit of the film was okay, and then the middle kind of took a direction I didn't really care for. And then when he became more of the embodiment of Santa, it became a little bit better again, but there are some messages in this that I really don't agree with and that I think makes it a damaging film for any young children who still believe in Santa Claus, because of course Santa Claus is real and we don't want to spoil that Christmas magic by giving really bad messages. It's not so much that they say Santa isn't real, but there are a couple of things, and I will explain what they are in a moment, that I really don't agree with and don't think they should have put in this film. But otherwise, I think it can be a fun film for children, but with an important message that's, I think, something we can all do well to remember, to make sure we don't lose sight of what's really important in life. It's an okay film. It's not brilliant. I didn't love it. There are some problems with it, which I'll mention in a moment. But in general, it's an important message, and I think it does a good enough job of delivering the message. So I can't really say it's a bad film. Certainly some people do. On IMDb, it currently has 2.9 out of 10, which is a pretty terrible rating for a feature film. I don't think it's that bad. But if somebody were to say they really didn't like watching it at all, I could understand. But for me, I liked one scene, didn't like the next, liked the next, didn't care for the next. So it's definitely a film of two halves. It's just not necessarily split down the middle. It's okay. I don't think there's any other word I can use to describe it. It's fine, I guess. It's not amazing, but the narrative flows well enough. But as I said, there are some things that I don't like, so I will discuss those now. I guess with a spoiler warning, I'm not really spoiling anything specific, but just in case you don't want to know anything in too much detail, these are a few things that I think would make it quite damaging for the wrong audience. And the first is the message that Santa doesn't read every letter. That's horrible. Imagine a child watching this. And I do have to say, I don't know who the target audience is for this film, because while our protagonist is an adult, it's a very juvenile film. And I feel like it would be better suited to younger viewers. But then if you tell younger viewers that Santa doesn't read every letter, that's not a nice message to give. That's pretty nasty, in fact. Because the whole point is that general people, civilians, whatever you want to call them, take on the role of secret Santas and do Santa's work for him and help to read the letters. But I don't like that message that Santa doesn't read every letter. And there's also a quote, and directly we are told Santa isn't a single person, he's a spirit of goodwill. Even though we're also told Santa doesn't read every letter. Well, if Santa's not a single person, why do we need to know that he doesn't read every letter? There are some mixed messages and it's not very well written. But also I don't like the idea that they're giving this message that Santa isn't a single person. The message that he's a spirit of goodwill, I think, is nice and is pretty realistic, actually. But again, if this is for a younger audience, to then say Santa isn't a single person, it's not a good message. So I feel like I can understand why some people really don't like this. There are a lot of problems with it, but I can't say it's terrible. I can't say it's unwatchable, because that's not true. Would I recommend it? Probably not, unless, like me, you do plan to watch every Christmas film ever made, in which case there are worse films. It's not great. There are some good scenes, there are some bad scenes, and there are some pretty terrible, potentially damaging messages if the wrong audience watches this. I don't know who the intended audience is, but I can confirm that for about half of the film, it wasn't very good. Ultimately, though, the message is pretty clear, and if we can take away that positive from it, then that's an okay thing.